Senator from Alabama.
Madam President, last week, the House voted for a common sense proposal that's supported by a majority of the Americans. The House voted to protect female athletes. This week, it's time for the Senate to do the same thing. Before my time here, I spent many years as a coach, educator, and mentor. I've seen how sports can change people's lives. Athletic scholarships open up a lifetime of opportunities for men and women alike. Yet, today those opportunities for women are being threatened by a radical political agenda that is being forced upon the American people. When I was growing up, there were a lot less opportunities for female athletes. But 51 years ago, Congress passed Title IX to ensure male and female athletes both had access to lessons, life skills, and opportunities for advancement that comes from participating in sports. It's been one of the most successful pieces of legislation ever to come out of Congress. As a coach, I saw its impact firsthand. One of my first jobs out of college was coaching junior girls basketball. What a thrill. Title IX was just starting to be implemented when I took the job. I was there to see the incredible impact it had on young girls all over this country. For the first time, young women I coached had this equal access to facilities, resources, and competition. I saw those hardworking athletes go on to earn college scholarships, start careers, and become leaders in their own communities. I still keep in touch with a lot of them. I'm deeply proud of them. I wonder if they would have had the same opportunities without Title IX. Would they have the same access to the ability for success? Before Title IX, a lot of schools, there was no such thing as college women's athletics. Very few collegiate championships for women's sports existed, limiting opportunities for female athletes to achieve greatness. Before 1972, when Title IX was enacted, there were only about 30,000 female athletes in college sports and only around 290,000 in high school sports. For comparison, at the same time, 3.7 million males were playing high school sports. However, after Title IX's enactment, that changed very quickly. Because of Title IX, female participation at the college level has risen more than 600%. Yet now female athletes are again being told to give up their ability to compete and compete for second place. Women and girls are suffering at the hands of an ideology. The Biden administration has taken a sledgehammer, a big sledgehammer to Title IX. A few weeks ago, on Good Friday, of all days, Joe Biden's Department of Education issued a new rule completely reinterpreting Title IX. As usual, the Biden administration is trying to legislate from the White House, the executive branch, because they know their radical ideas would not, and I repeat, would not make it through this Congress. This type of change should require a bill, but Biden, again, wants to change federal law by simply publishing a new rule. Biden's rule change says schools cannot ban boys from participating in women's sports, or else they'll lose their funding. I can't believe we're even talking about this. The proposed rule is 116 pages long. It is so vague that schools, they're not going to know what to do. They're not going to know how to interpret it. The vagueness is going to let the Biden administration selectively enforce rules and intimidate schools into taking the most cautious position. It is a backdoor national mandate to force schools to allow biological males to play in women's sports. Schools that choose to protect female athletes would face punishment from the government if they didn't allow it. The rule is expected to go into effect this coming fall, 2023. That means teachers and coaches will have to begin opening their girls' and women's teams, fields, and locker rooms to biological males. It's unfair, it's unsafe, and it's downright wrong. To be honest, it's moronic. As a former coach, I can tell you, coaches will do what it takes to win. Coaches want to keep their jobs. The only way to keep your job as a coach and to deal with the pressure is to win games. College athletics is a big business, a big, big business. There are conferences that make near $100 million per school a year just for television rights. So there's a lot at stake. Under the Biden rules, all of the incentives are for biological males to dominate women's sports. They're only a very small percentage today. Only one study shows trans athletes make up about 0.00025 of athletes in women's college sports today. Very small percentage. But frankly, one championship or opportunity ripped away from a female by a biological male is one too many. And the Democrats are here to argue differently, and if they do that, it's shameful. 10 years from now, I suspect the situation is going to be very, very different. The Supreme Court last year voted to allow college athletes to get paid for their name, image, and likeness. A few years from now, coaches and players would stand to make millions of dollars through playing biological males against women. It's only common sense if that's not going to happen. Because winning is the only thing that counts in college and professional athletes. That's the only thing that counts. Biological males will and would dominate in virtually every women's sports. Women's sports as we know it would be over. Biological girls would simply drop out of sports or never choose to play in the first place. Is this really what the Democrats want? Is this really their plan? Do Democrats really want to end women's sports? Do Democrats really want to ruin the dreams of young girls who want to be the next world-famous gymnasts like Suni Lee, or tennis player superstars like the Williams sisters, or Olympic swimming legend like Katie Ledecky? Is that what they want? Is that really what they want? I'm grateful that many courageous female athletes are speaking out. Last week, I spoke with one of the greatest athletes in history, Caitlyn Jenner, who is fully supportive of this bill of keeping men and boys out of women's sports. Because we've all seen young women like Riley Gaines, who had to watch her national championship dreams get taken away by a biological male. This was after she was forced to share a locker room with that adult biological male against her will. Riley Gaines was at the University of Kentucky on an athletic scholarship. But what would happen if a young girl is forced to compete against a male in high school? That young girl could finish in second or third and watch her scholarship dreams disappear. Already, 28 championships have been taken away from girls and women at the hands of biological males. You have got to be kidding me. Males have 40 to 50% greater upper body strength and 20 to 40% lower body strength. It's dangerous to put them on the same field with women. This is basic biology. But what did we see from the Party of Science last week? Exactly 0 Democrats in the House voted for this bill. 0. The Party of Science seems to have skipped biology class Now the question is, will any Democrats in the Senate show a little bit of courage and stand up for women? Just a little bit. Will any Senate Democrats vote to protect their daughters, their granddaughters, or great-granddaughters? I'm anxious to see this. Will any of them do that today? Democrats have been talking a lot about women on the Senate floor lately. Democrats seem to think the only thing women care about is abortion, ending the life of a child. What about women and girls who want to be athletes or go to school on an athletic scholarship? Does that matter? Not a single House Democrat voted to protect girls and women in sports. Today we're going to find out where the Senate Democrats stand. The bill the House passed last week would stop this administration from forcing schools to let biological males compete against women. In fact, the Protection of Women and Girls in Sports Act does just the opposite. It prevents a school from receiving funds if it lets boys compete in women's sports. Americans do not want the federal government footing the bill for a policy that is a slap in the face to women who have worked so hard to become athletes. A clear majority of Americans support this bill. Clear majority. Poll after poll has proven that. It's time to act before the situation gets worse, and it's going to get much worse. So now, I'm going to give this body a chance to stand up for women athletes. Madam President, I ask unanimous consent that the Senate proceed to the immediate consideration of H.R. 734, which was received from the House. Further, that the bill be considered, read a third time, and passed, and that the motion to reconsider be considered, made, and laid upon the table.